What if you could peek behind the curtain and see the secret source code for one of the most powerful AI tools on the planet? Well, thanks to a huge, totally accidental leak, now we can. So today, we're going to be digital detectives and dive right into that code to uncover the hidden truths behind Claude. And when I say huge, I am not kidding. We're talking over 500,000 lines of the complete, readable source code just out there in the open. That's about 1,500 private files that were never ever meant to see the light of day. So yeah, this wasn't some small oopsie. It was a gigantic exposure. So how in the world did this happen? Well, it wasn't some super sophisticated hack or anything like that. Nope. It was a single, totally routine software update, version 2.1.88. All it took was one leftover file in that update, what's called a source map. Think of it like a treasure map to the original code. And that one little file blew the whole thing wide open. This is where our investigation really begins. So in this explainer, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at the leak itself. Then we're going to tackle the two biggest fears people have. Is it tracking you? And is the AI secretly getting dumber? After that, we'll uncover the secret to its amazing memory. And then, the fun part, we'll dig up some incredible hidden features and Easter eggs. And finally, we'll show you how the code reveals a much, much bigger plan. Now, you'd think a mistake this massive would get shut down instantly. And to be fair, the company behind Claude did act fast. They tried to roll back the update as soon as the alarms went off. But it was just too late. The cat was already out of the bag. The code had been copied and was spreading like wildfire across the internet, giving us this unbelievable look under the hood. So with all this code out in the wild, two major fears popped up almost immediately. The first one is all about privacy and tracking. The second one, well, it's that feeling we all get sometimes, that the AI we're using is secretly getting less intelligent. So we dove into the code ourselves to separate the facts from the fear. All right, this is the big one. This is what everybody wants to know. Is this tool snooping on our personal data to figure out who we are and maybe even ban us? It's a huge question, and thankfully, the source code gives us a very clear answer. Okay, so let's break this down. The code confirms some good news. It's not grabbing deep hardware fingerprints, so no tracking your MAC address, your specific CPU model, none of that. However, it absolutely is tracking you in other ways. It creates a permanent user ID for you, an anonymous ID, and of course, it ties everything to your email and your account. But here's the kicker. It even tracks something called a repository hash, which basically means it knows exactly what project you're working on. So it's not just tracking who you are, it's tracking what you're building. But here's the silver lining. The leak also shows us how to fight back. The code itself reveals the way out. You can actually run specific commands to find and just delete these tracking IDs. You can clear out all the telemetry data, that's the performance info it sends home, and you can disconnect your account. And if you want to go full ghost mode, you can do a full reset that makes you look like a brand new user with zero links to anything you've done before. Okay, let's tackle that second big fear. You know the feeling, right? You're deep into a complicated task, and all of a sudden the AI's answers just feel off. A little lazy, maybe? Weaker? The big conspiracy theory is that the company is secretly switching you to a less powerful, cheaper AI model in the middle of your chat to save a few bucks. So does the code prove it? The truth is a little more complicated, but in a good way. Let's be crystal clear, no, it does not secretly downgrade the model in your main chat. If you're paying for the powerful Opus model, that is exactly what you get for your conversation. What the leak does confirm, though, is that it uses a weaker model called Haiku for all the little background tasks, things like summarizing your chat history or doing a quick code check. So while it might feel dumber sometimes, it's not because they're tricking you in your main chat. All right, let's move on from the fears and get into the really cool stuff. One of this tool's superpowers is its memory. It can remember tiny details from conversations that are incredibly long, way better than most other AIs out there. And what we found in the code shows this isn't magic at all, it's just some brilliant engineering. The secret sauce is this thing called four-layer context compression. I know, it sounds super technical, but the idea behind it is actually really simple and honestly genius. The whole point is to avoid using that super expensive, powerful AI brain for every little thing. Instead, it runs the conversation through a series of cheaper, simpler steps to clean up and shrink the history before the big AI ever sees it. And this breaks it down perfectly. Think of it like a four-stage filter. It starts with a basic cleanup of old, bulky info. Then it uses some smart algorithms and standard data shrinking tricks to condense it even more. And the very last step is creating a final, tight summary of the whole thing. Each layer just strips away the noise, so only the most important stuff gets passed on. It's incredibly efficient. But that compression is only one piece of the puzzle. The leak also showed us this incredible 3-tiered memory system. So you've got your session memory, which is basically short-term recall for the chat you're in right now. Then there's persistent memory, which learns about you and your work over the long haul. And get this, there's even team memory, a shared brain for when you're working with other people. It's not just remembering stuff, it's organizing knowledge on a whole other level. All right, this is probably the part you've been waiting for. When you have the full source code, you can see everything they're working on, including all the secret features they haven't told us about yet. And trust me, we've found some absolute gems in here. First up, hidden deep in the code is a fully working incognito mode. It looks like this is just for internal staff, and it lets them use the tool without leaving any trace at all. No logs, no history, nothing. It's their way of testing things completely off the record. Next up is something that is, frankly, a huge deal. Full computer control. We've seen some flashy demos of this, but the leak proves it's not just a concept. The entire framework is already built into the code, ready to let the AI literally take over your mouse and keyboard to do tasks for you. It's not available to the public yet, but it's sitting there, waiting for them to flip the switch. And then there's this little surprise, which is just awesome. Buried in the files is a complete, unreleased companion sprite system. It's basically a little collectible pet game hiding inside the tool, with 18 different cute companions you can collect. It's this really playful, fun side to a very serious tool that until now nobody even knew was there. So when you start putting all these pieces together, the incredible memory system, secret features like computer control, it becomes really obvious that this isn't just another coding assistant. No, the code is pointing to a much, much bigger ambition. And this quote from one of the analyses of the code just hits the nail on the head. What we get to use today is just the very tip of the iceberg. Buried in those 500,000 lines of code are the actual building blocks for a complete AI-native operating system. And you can see right here how all the pieces fit together. The code has separate modules for everything, for speech input, for multiple AIs to work together as a team of agents, for that deep memory system we talked about, and, of course, for full computer control. You put all that together, and you're not looking at a tool anymore. You're looking at the blueprint for the future of how we're all going to interact with our computers. This single accidental leak has given us this incredible, unprecedented look into the future of AI. We've been able to bust some myths and uncover a secret roadmap for what could be a true AI operating system. But the thing is, the code is still out there. Thousands of developers are picking it apart right now, which means this story is far from over. This is probably just the beginning, and the biggest secrets might still be waiting to be found. Which leaves us with one question. What will they discover next?